Yeah, typically I wouldn't stream 3 nights in a row, uh, because typically that means one of those games is going to end up with us getting killed. But with I don't know, Mariners offense being what it is, like I don't know if they're a team, and knock on wood, I might be wrong tonight. I don't know if they're a team capable of like running away with a game. But we got Hannafy going tonight. I mean, what you get probably 2 out of Hannafy. Would Holton be the bulk guy then, or Faedo? The problem with using Holton in that, and look, you got to get outs any way you can, but the problem is like, Holton's so valuable in the back end. But getting outs in the 4th and 5th is every bit as important in the 8th and as in the 8th and 9th. So. Oh, Salmons, yeah. Slamming Salmons. Okay, we might have our work cut out for us. Though he hasn't been awful, but what can you expect? Going for the sweep, boys. Their pitching is good, but we've gotten to it. I mean, I've been really impressed by our at-bats the last few nights. It's inspired a fair amount of hope.
So some positional changes as well, but it was a 9-spot for 9-spot swap. And this ball game for AJ Hinch trying to sweep to get the Tigers within 3 games of Seattle. This has been AL West that has kind of come back to the pack. The Astros have taken the divisional lead for it now. 24-year-old Brian Lewis on the hill.
Woo! This guy's got really good stuff. One thing about the Mariners staff, they have a pitching factory where it's pretty consistent. A lot of sweepers, a lot of sliders, but the number one thing, that stands out about all those guys, they just don't throw a whole lot of balls. I mean, they are consistently in the strike zone. That's filthy. Yeah, that had some rising action on it. Woo! I'm gonna do that every time he strikes a guy out. Oh, you see, I just said that. God damn, I know so much about sports. You woke up to a lot of smoke this morning. Was your house on fire? Oh, yeah. By the way, the deleted tweet was just, it was in reference to a recent job interview that I'd had. I didn't say anything in it that was in the tweet that was inappropriate. I just felt like it's just probably not appropriate, and I got to adjust to this stuff, to just tweet about what was said in a job interview. I feel like that just doesn't reflect very well on you. The next tweet was part of the thread. I mean, it was, the message stayed the same. Where'd this guy come from, man? Because his stuff is really good. Oh my. Woo! Hamburger. He's a young pitcher, but 6th round pick. Does not pitch like a 6th round pick, man. Though, I mean, does that really matter?
living right around those corners. To Matt Vierling, who's 5 for 10 in the series.
They made a couple of outstanding plays out in left field besides getting the 3 hits in last night's game.
God damn, the fucking Orioles almost came back. Wow. That fastball of his is really moving, man. It's a favorite video of myself. I mean, the thing, there's so many Tiger ones that they kind of run together. I really did like the one that Austin I did on Michigan's campus when they won the Natty. Cigarette video, my prerogative video. Trying to think. I mean, there's a couple post games that stand out. Turnbull's no hitter, obviously. I mean, I don't know. I like a lot of ones that are like go against type, just because I do so many different Tiger ones that I like the ones that kind of are a little bit off the beaten path. Yeah, I would say probably if we're talking overall consensus, I would say that's probably. Well, that's a good question. I would say if you're a pre-Barstool Castellani fan, that's probably your favorite video. If you're a post, if you came onto my stuff in a post Barstool world, you probably aren't as familiar with that one, which makes sense. That was a 2017 video. Slumming in the no, I'm not slumming it. But run it out. Runs are going to be tough tonight, man. Yeah, no, I like to hop in and leave like one comment, then leave. I don't want to fucking, I don't want to distract people from the product, but I don't know. It's been a while now that I've been away from the company, so I don't think the worst checking in every so often is the worst thing in the world. Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to figure out, because I've seen this with people that have left Barstool, whether they were let go or left on their own, where there's often a cycle where they go for, like, when they leave initially, they're disliked. And at some point in the cycle, they come back around, time passes, and people are like, yeah, you know what, this guy wasn't so bad. I'm skeptical, but I'm hoping that I can finish that circle and come back around to being liked again. But we'll see. Probably going to be a ways away. I think 4 months is probably too short of a window. But
stay connected with available OnStar technology. For summer adventures, Chevy's got you. Or GM employees with a current eligible lease can get this Silverado for around $319 a month. Chevy drives the Motor City. Together, let's drive. Another postcard night here in Seattle. We are scoreless through a half inning as we bring you the Mariners batting order. Presented by your Metro Detroit Chevy dealers. This is so far in the series. Randy Rosarena is the only guy with multiple hits in the 2 games in the lineup tonight, and he had both of those hits yesterday. Cal Raleigh obviously could have been the game-winning home run, but for Parker Meadows, and now Brendan Hanafy on the first pitch from him today is ball 1. Starting pitcher presented by Woolsack Windows. This is the guy who finished the game.
That's a good stat. Finish the game and then start the next game. Okay, make a play. That's going to be a tough play. Great play. Wow. Robles is fast. I didn't think he would get him. I remember Fulmer did the inverse of that, where he started a game it was against Boston in 2021. He started a game against Boston, got rocked. I don't think he made it through an inning. And then we went to extra innings. I want to say the 11th, maybe the 10th, but it was extra innings, not that matters. And I think he came in to get one out. He got, I could be wrong about this, but I think he got Xander Bogaerts looking with a fastball to end that game. Let me check. Because Fulmer started a few games at the beginning of the 21 season before they fully moved him to the pen. So it was okay. Yeah. So he got 2 outs. Okay. It was May 4th. He started, went 2/3 of an inning, 4 hits, 4 runs, 2 earned, 1 walk, 0 strikeouts. Comes in May 5th, the next day. We were up 6-3 in the 10th. We gave up 2. Hey, nice play. You got time on it. Attaboy, Colt. And he struck out. It was Kike Hernandez. He struck out looking. Yeah, like annoying, right? You know, the offense. I said this even when he was still on the roster because Canna was out for a few days. He was dealing with a nagging injury at one point. You know, Canna was terrible after April. You know, I would argue that, like, yeah, whatever he's doing in San Francisco is great, but I would argue the lineup is probably in a better place without him. That was one I'm very surprised. Like, presidents / GMs, they get praised for signing guys who succeed. They get criticized for signing guys who fail. The Canna move to me was like a very safe bet. Like, I liked that move when it happened. I thought it was a smart thing to do. Veteran presence in your lineup. Not a guy who's going to wow you, right? 760 OPS guy, but a consistent bat who's going to get on base. He just wasn't that good here.
He was Ulysses Simpson Grant Stoner, but his brother, Ted Theodore Roosevelt Stoner, couldn't say his full name, so he just called him Will. Will Stoner. 2-2. Right there, strike 3.
This guy's got good stuff, man. Now, let me look at that. That's filthy. Yeah, that had some tits on it. Yeah, guys, that's right, we do play him tomorrow. You guys know that I'm the guy who watches spring training games. So I'm not criticizing anybody for consuming as much football as they want. With that said, just on a personal level for me, as excited as I am for the Lions, preseason football's rough, dude. And it's one of those things. It's for me to say, "Oh, you're dumb for watching it," would be totally hypocritical as somebody who watches spring training games. But it's just hard for me to get into. You know, you realize when watching when you watch the NFL and you hear professional football players say, "Oh man, when I got to the league, it's so much faster than it is when you're in college." And that's true. But when you watch preseason football, you realize not only is there a huge, huge leap between college to pro, there's a huge leap between first string and second string pro. Like, and again, it's a dumb comparison, right? Because nobody played tonight, but like the way the Lions offense was just stagnant as fuck compared to just like the kind of rhythm they're capable of getting into when Goff and Amon-Ra and Gibbs and Montgomery all out there, and Laporta, you see it. And that's not some astute observation. It's interesting to me. It's down.
pretty special. You know, I really enjoy throwing in both those venues for sure.
Derek, I mean, you've been so good all year, but the one play I just want to talk about is the one that you made against Jorge Polanco.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when that ball went down the third base side, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to this throw? And you threw a seed and a strike over to first base. What was describe that whole play? Take us through that whole play.
All right, I'll be honest. When it happens, blackout, and the play's made, I'm like, thank God that throw went the right way. Went to the right spot. But
Yeah, I saw that.
Remember, obviously, I saw the swing, and I kind of knew where the pitch was going to go. So I kind of figured that was going to be out.
Well, I mean, he's won a Cy Young.
Yeah, I mean, when that all happens so fast in football, so you don't think too much. And then, obviously,
I don't have any thoughts on that. Why would I have any thoughts on that? Somebody dropped out, so they added him, and they added Robbie too. What is the only thing I'll say about that is time fucking flies, because I feel like the last season of Surviving Barstool just happened.
so good. 3-2 in the year, right inside. And Polanco. So we're showing the play right now, so you don't remember any of it. I remember throwing the pitch and then making the throw. I've watched it, and I watched it probably
Man, that was a great play. Yeah.
times last night. That was actually me. You're like your hop step and stride. This is so goofy and awesome. Yeah, Roger.
I mean, you would have to ask him. I don't know his personality well enough to know if he harbors a resentment. The only real bad blood I feel post Barstool is just the kind of resentment I have in myself. I mean, I talked about this last night. Is if I felt like that opinion or the stuff that he wrote in that blog was just the opinion of one guy, I'd be able to just kind of wave it off and be like, okay, whatever, fuck this dude. But Francis was just the only one who, brave is probably too strong a term, but who was abrasive is the right phrase. But he was the only one who kind of had the gall to say what most other people were thinking. So no, I don't. I would guess you're probably right. He has much bigger things to worry about. What would Trump say about Grady Sizemore? Watched him a long time. Wonderful player. Wonderful. One thing I always love about Trump, whenever he talks about sports figures, he always gets like their accomplishments wrong. I remember when Rex Ryan endorsed him. He's like, Rex Ryan, greatest coach, won 2 Super Bowls. It's like, no, he didn't. He went to the AFC Championship game twice and lost both times. So he'd probably be like, Grady Sizemore, I remember his MVP, won the Triple Crown. Dude, the thing, I literally watched it right before I started. The thing that Trump said today, where he's talking about Elon Musk, he goes, he endorsed me. He said he endorsed me full-throated.
Did you know he endorsed me full-throated?
Oh, incredible player. Yeah, no, I mean, talk about a guy whose star burned out. I mean, he had a Hall of Fame ceiling, Grady Sizemore. Was I blindsided at what he wrote or deep down I worried? I knew that people's opinions of me had changed. For good reason. It's not like they woke up. Nobody wakes up one day and decides, yeah, you know what, I just don't like this guy anymore. I genuinely, and this is just, it's my fault. I just need to be more perceptive. I didn't know that I had bothered people that much, because what I was trying to do, and it doesn't matter, dude, but like what I was trying to do in that blog that I wrote, what I was trying to be funny. And whether you found it funny or not, that's totally subjective. I mean, I would not consider myself a comedy writer, but I didn't know the damage I'd done. And what happens is you get a kick in the ass. I mean, that's, you know, what happens in life, dude. You know, I mean, at a place like Barstool, it's a public beating, right? We recorded 2 outs, by the way. Parker's counts even here too. Parker's, but I think a huge mistake that I made, one of the many. Man, that's a good pitch. That's a good fastball he's got. Is I really cared about what people at the company thought about me. And I think that you need to be much more fearless and much more secure in yourself if you want to work there. So, I mean, I was devastated when, reading that, but you set yourself up for it. It's not like it was an unprovoked attack. I wrote what I wrote,
And she's famous. Thunder Harris, over 10 million illegal a year. A quarter of a million Americans dead from fentanyl. Bleeding migrant crimes. And ISIS now here. Kamala Harris failed. Weak, dangerous, and liberal.
I'm laughing at there was just an anti-Kamala ad that was playing. Whatever your politics, I don't care. But I find it funny that they're posing her as a threat while they're playing a clip of her dancing. I do remember Danny Worth. Yep. I remember him pitching in a game, I think, against the Rangers in 2014. We were getting shellacked. I threw a knuckleball and I think struck a guy out. Oh.
GMC Terrain. GM Employee Program participants with a current eligible GMC lease can get this low mileage lease on this Terrain SLE for $279 per month. Strike Zone Technology is presented by GMC. We are professional grade.
No score at bottom 2. Cal Raleigh leads it off, then Justin Turner, Jorge Polanco.
Hennepy.
Tarek Scooble's joined us a couple times. You watch him on the mound, you think he's very, very, very serious as a human being. And rightfully so, he's a Cy Young candidate in Major League Baseball. He takes his craft seriously. This to left, Justin Henry Malloy is back on it, and he makes the catch. Tarek Scooble.
You know it's weird. You know it's weird, Matt. That occurred to me the day all that shit happened. You guys know I worship Shane Gillis. I think he's probably the best comedian working right now. I am 99.9% sure he had no knowledge of who I was before that day. And it wouldn't shock me if that was the only exposure he ever had to me. I'll tell you what, the Phillies, I know the Phillies been scuffling a little bit lately. They have played a brutal schedule, man. It's a good question. Maybe, maybe not. If they did and they ask about it, I'd be willing to talk, about it. Because if there's any good that's come from it, and there's very little, it's like at least I have learned something, But we've talked about this before, man. It's like you only get so many sorries in life. At a certain point, you're just kind of a dick. I don't know, man. I don't know. But I'll drive myself crazy with that because you can't control the way that people react to the past. You can only control what you do in the future. Jesus. You got him. No.
Special ticket package includes game ticket, beer flight, and pretzel necklace. Yes, pretzel necklace. For tickets at thetigers.com/beerfest. Dan Petrie had a pretzel necklace once, and he hated it.
Yeah, it got my attention as soon as you said pretzel necklace. Yeah.
How did pretzels go with peaches?
Of course, I remember Eugenio Suarez.
As good as cottage cheese. Oh, this. We have this. Sorry.
Do that. That's not a meal.
Yeah, Alfredo Simon trade. That was a terrible trade.
2-0 is inside 3-0. Credit to Brennan Hannafy. 5 batters, no base runners. There have been no base runners in this game. It's 3-0 on Polanco. It's prone to swing in a count like this with Salmon's getting loose.
That's in there.
Check swing and a strike. Well, he's going to need that back.
What's it like rewatching old content videos yourself from high school? Well, it's a good question, Matt. It's, for the record, and this won't, this definitely won't debunk the narcissist claims, but I'm fortunate in the sense that I'm capable of posting only the good ones. You know what I mean? Like there's a heavy majority of content within the Castellani vault that is unwatchable. So most of the stuff I post is the stuff that I was proud of. The ones that I post, honestly, I find it, I'm not going to go as far as to say charming. I think I'd be talking myself up a little bit too much there, but it makes me proud to know that the passion has always been there, and that, you know, even when I was young, my ability to kind of create things on my own existed. And that a lot of the traits that I brought into my content today, whether it's self-deprecation, humor, sports knowledge, what have you, still exists. But then I get upset because usually when I go back and watch them, I just can't help but notice how handsome I was. I mean, that's a big thing. No one, I was a good looking fucking tennis playing motherfucker in high school, and no one ever told me. So that makes me a bit upset. But no, the ones I post they make me smile. Yeah. And that's the goal with them is to make people smile too. I don't expect people to come away from it and be like, ooh, high art from a fucking 18-year-old. But it's enjoyable.
Working out. Two strikes right now. Hannafy fouled away. Two again. On the ground short. McKinstry.
He's been busy. Is he on the bag there? Okay. Ooh. Barely.
Let's see. This might be a Mariners challenge coming up.
Yeah.
Did Madris get down on the bench?
This is just me, or does Scott Service kind of look like Gary Oldman without the mustache? I don't know what, like, there's the facial shape. Is he on the? Barely. He's on it though. Yeah, he got there. as nobody else does. I don't know. I mean, it's I think what it is that it's very clear that I am very obsessive about my image. As I think a lot of internet-based personalities are. I don't think that's really exclusive to me. But you know, I care about how I look. I care about, you know, what I weigh. I care about how I come across. You know, I people can say it's superficial, but the fact is, like, if you're buying a car, the one that looks like it just came off the showroom is going to be more appealing than the one that the fucking jalopy that was in a fucking crash recently, you know. You're selling a product. Man, I keep getting asked about this. Okay, the deleted tweet was in reference to a recent job interview that I'd had, and I deleted it not because there was anything inappropriate or anything like that, but solely because I just felt like it was not a good reflection on me to talk about what was said in a job interview. Feels odd to hear you say, well, okay. Fair point. My counter to that is when I'm at home and I'm just chilling, which I do most of the time, it's a bit different. When I'm out in public, I try to present myself in a much different light. You know, if I'm not in my workout clothes, which I often am, shit like that. I would say how you look is a part of content. Run it out. No. Yeah, I mean, of course they can.
You have to. Now, I just explain. This is
In the air to left field, Rosarena on the move, and he will get there to make the catch.
and we're running out of time. That's 2 out. That's okay. I want to see this next pitch.
I'm not. That's a much easier thing to argue in person than it is over the. If you look, here's the response. If you don't want the way you look to be part of your content, it doesn't have to be. It does not have to be. You're right about that. There's a lot of schlubby dudes who are very popular, successful, making content on the internet. It's always mattered to me, and I sure as shit know that it matters to the people around them. Like, I mean, I have, you know, I'll put out a video that is fucking great, but if my fucking hair looks bad or some shit, someone in my life is going to call me for it. I try not to care about it. That's in there. I think they're warming up Salmon, so I think he's done. But he did a great job. Oof. Yeah, Astros, they were off today, right? So if I don't know why I can't just check MLB, it'll take 5 seconds. Yeah, Salmons is in. So right now Houston is a half game up. We win tonight. Houston's a full game up. I tweeted this out like 2 months ago and it hasn't changed. The AL West is what I thought the American League Central would be. I hate letting the Tigers off the hook, and I'm not. But my preseason prediction was 85 wins, and I thought 85 wins in this division could be suitable enough, good enough to win this division, given the caliber of teams I thought were in the Central coming into the year. Not to their credit, but to their defense, even if they performed up to those expectations, they still would not be in the thick of the race for the Central. The division has turned out to be significantly better than we expected it to be. Whereas in the West, you have a team that's 4 games over 500 that's in first place. Right behind them is a team that's 3 games over 500. After that, you have the Rangers, who are 7 games under 500, and then obviously the Angels and the A's were terrible. And so that's more of a grinder division where it's like, man, 85, 86 wins might do it. Kind of like what the Central was a year ago. Well, if I ever went to Seattle, I feel like I would have to. Yeah, I try to get something that's distinct to the park when I go, and I haven't been to a ton of parks necessarily, but Hannafy was very good.
Second appearance for Salmons, pitched it clean, hitting it at third back on Saturday against Kansas City. Has that 4-seam fastball, cutter, sweeper, will throw the occasional curveball or changeup.
Once that Windows pitching change, Salmons so far in 2 games, he's been the bulk guy at points. First base,
Knock on wood, but we've just done a very good job of executing our pitches so far in this series. Even if we're not striking guys out, we're really nothing's outside of the hanger that Scooble had last night for the home run. Nothing's really caught plate. There are, and this is a lineup. It sounds silly, but this is a lineup where, like, if you execute your pitches, you're going to be successful. There's certain teams out there that we've struggled against. I think the Royals are an example of this, where you can make your pitch against that Kansas City lineup. You can throw a perfect pitch to Bobby Witt Jr. and you could still rope it for a double or a home run. This team does not have a Bobby Witt Jr. Now, who does? But they don't really. The only star on this roster should be Julio Rodriguez, and he's been slumping in injured pretty much all season.
the American League West. The Rangers are close enough to scare you still.
Yeah.
That is a good point, that Houston got off to such an awful start, and they've done a lot of this without Tucker, who I've always liked. It's a weird Houston team just because it doesn't feel like everyone's been consistent at once. You'll have a few guys that are hot, and then they'll slump, and a few other guys will get hot. Like Yainer Diaz has been great the last month or so. With the amount of off days that you get in the postseason and the amount of separation there is between games and rest you get, I could see I could see the bullpen holding up in October. I still have a lot of concerns about their starting pitching. And Frommer's been great the last few starts, but after that, are you going to get a healthy Verlander? Are you going to get a consistent Hunter Brown? McCullers isn't coming back. Is anyone from Barcelona? I mean, to show their support. I mean, I've talked to people. I wouldn't really expect anybody to, put their hand on my shoulder. Put your head on my shoulder.
We saw the first inning tonight was really impressive.
that was another one of those rule changes when they got rid of the shift that they wanted to see some more of that athleticism and see that take over instead of just everybody shifting to one side and then a little ground ball. It's to see them move around and display a strong arm. Diving stops.
Robles. Right hand side. Ryan Valade reaching back to make the catch.
Got an awkward play. Take it. When this game start 9:40 through 3 innings, 40 minutes. Yeah.
Ugh. Hey, Amber. Yeah, I forgot Kikuchi's look good, but yeah, it's look. The Houston Astros are one of those teams. I'm not going to count them out until they're out. I guess. No, McCullers isn't coming back. They're better than the team I'm about to mention, but there could be like an 06 Cardinals vibe to them, and I know how weird that sounds. But the one thing about that 2006 Cardinals team is they were really seasoned. Yeah, they probably shouldn't have even been in the playoffs. They lucked out, weak division, only won 83 games, what have you. But you had Pujols and Edmonds and Roland, experienced players, Chris Carpenter. They had been in the NLCS the year before. They'd been in the World Series the year before that. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that this is probably the weakest Astros team we've seen since they really ascended in 2017. And yet I am a believer that experience really matters. Now, it's not a guarantee that it's going to lead to success, but we've seen them at points over, during every playoff run, no matter how dominant you are, at some point things kind of go sideways for you, and it always seems like they bounce back pretty consistently. And they could do that again. And still, regardless, I mean, even with the numbers aren't as impressive as they have been in previous years, there's some guys in that lineup that I just do not feel good about when they step to the dish if I'm an opposing team. I never want to face Altuve in the postseason. I never want to face Jordan or Bregman. And if you get a healthy Tucker back, all of a sudden, I mean, that's as good a top four as anyone. Hey, I resent that. I'm not in my 30s.
Evidently, what that means for me tonight is that I'm going to drink at 6. Down one time.
You get on me for drinking cheese.
I do.
You're over there drinking crickets.
Let's see what's fast. 1-1.
Good take.
Downstairs, 2 balls and a strike. The pitcher's duel that we have had the last couple of nights with Castillo against Montero, Kirby against Snowball, Wu versus question mark. We didn't know what it would look like, but this
That's strike, yeah.
pitcher's duel as we've seen for 3 innings in this 3-game series.
Yeah, we knew coming in that it was all going to be probably tight games yesterday's class until the Tigers broke it up late. But yeah, very entertaining, a little bit different in each and every game. With Kike Montero starting out being a young kid, you don't know, exactly. He had a really strong game. You expect Tarek Skubal, but everything that he brings, and now a bullpen game, something different
That's up.
each and every game.
Making him work a little bit more than he was in the first few innings, but I mean, we're only one at bat into the inning here.
This year, right? All these close games, you're in a tight race, and that's where you want to be. But man, it's just every night it's 0-0 early.
That's inside. Come on. I had some swing back action on it. I think that was a 2-seamer. Did a good job framing it, but that's inside. Good pitch, but it's inside. Have I got a girlfriend yet? No, I haven't, guys. Let me tell you something. When I do, the internet will be the first to know. I'm sure, as is often the case with most of the things I do.
First pitch, strike. Brian Wood was not drafted out of high school. He went to Alaska, as so many do, to play in the Alaskan Baseball.
I do. I this is Castellani breaking news, and I'm not going to elaborate on it much more. I do actually have kind of someone in my life who I'd like to approach that permission to approach the bench, so to speak. But I'm just not going to. I can, I don't want the headache, and I don't want to give her the headache. Just accept that you're friends.
Tomorrow in a reunion with their old friend Mark Cannon,
who had 4 hits today.
he did in a 9-5 extra inning win in 10. Right field side, Haniger on the run. He's at the line to make the catch.
Eh, I got a lot of DMs about it.
It's Toyota's national sales event. Swipe into endless summer fun with an exciting new Toyota. Whether you're paddleboarding in a RAV4, mountain biking in a Tacoma, or tubing with your best friends in a Camry, you'll find plenty to post about all summer long.
Lease a dynamic new 24 Tacoma for $349 a month. Get a new 24 Tundra with 1.99 APR financing or $2,000 customer cash with 2 years no cost maintenance.
Come in today. Ooh, like
Toyota, let's go places.
No, not unless I work nights. I mean, I should have nights free to myself. I don't know. I would say I would frequent them less. I mean, I don't think I wouldn't, but I've already kind of, the last few nights, it have kind of been an exception because we played West Coast games, but as a whole, I don't do these every night like I did when I was at my last job. Yeah, you know what's weird, man? I've barely watched the Olympics, and I turned that game on about halfway through. The third quarter, and I got really into it. And it's a great game, incredible comeback. I'm not a huge NBA fan. You guys know this. A huge reason for that is just the Pistons have been so bad. But LeBron and Steph Curry, those guys are two of the most amazing athletes I've ever seen. And when they're on, which they were in the fourth quarter today, there's few people I enjoy. LeBron going to the basket with a full head of steam, I think, has to be the most unguardable human being of all time. And then Steph with 36. I mean, when he's in a groove, it's fun to watch. Really fun to watch. Why do I act like all girls are repulsed by you? You're not. I would say if I was ranking, one is just I'm a self-deprecating person in nature. I do not believe that looks are my biggest issue. I've seen people of equal attractiveness or lesser attractiveness get very attractive women. So it's not that level of repulsion. I've finally gotten old enough where I can identify like what doesn't work. And it's just like, dude, you can't be mad that people aren't picking up on your vibe when you have no confidence in yourself. Like that's what kills you, dude. And it's just, yeah, no, you're right. It's no game. I mean, I can maintain a conversation. Like I'm not a fucking mean guy. But I don't know. It's just thing. Yeah, I do. I got a lot of fucking dating questions tonight. Jesus. But really, I mean, these streams are one thing, but outside, when I'm not talking about fucking baseball or sports, like, or pop culture in some capacity, I don't know, I'm nervous. It's one of those things that I'm sure it shows on here at points, but when you see me out in public, it really shows. Like, it's just, nervous energy just is not a particularly appealing thing. And so, I'll give myself credit for the self-assessment, but I'm not going to give myself credit for fixing it because I haven't.
It happens.
His career ran very well. And
This is kind of dangerous here.
baked a lineup as he did tonight.
Might have got away with one there. That was a cutter over the heart of the plate.
I got it. Yep. I know, and I feel so guilty when I see you flinch. You know?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I do. Because out of the corner of my eye, I'm looking and I'm like, oh, I saw him flinch. That makes me flinch.
I want to be ready just in case I'm about to get taken out. It's fouled back. You think about Randy Arozarena and what he did in that 2020 AOC. 9 hits, 4 were home runs. The MVP of the ALCS that year. He goes 8 for 22 with 3 homers in the World Series as well. 0-2 on hold.
Great pitch. He held on, right?
Curveball
Yeah.
from Salmons for strike 3. Arozarena thought maybe the ball hit the dirt.
I don't think it did. I think he tipped it right into the. It was on the glove was on the ground, but he caught it.
By Chris Conroy, the plate umpire.
No, he got it.
Tipped it.
No, it's not even close. He caught it.
So that's an out.
Yeah, that's why they went out and they checked. Salmons threw back the ball just to see if there was a scuff mark on it.
Padawan, to answer that question,
Service and said, no, there's nothing.
I think there's a misconception out there for some people that I'm not like I haven't owned this.
The hard hit rate leader on this Mariners team.
Regardless of what I did or didn't do, I feel horrible. Horrible.
What's lost in the Mets
Um,
catch, Dan, is that was a pretty good pitch that Raleigh hit to the wall and beyond.
And I always will. That's one of those like, all right, you can move on, but I'm not going to cut myself some slack for that one.
Seen him, but we got a really good look at him. I said, yeah, backdoor slider. And he goes, yeah, I wanted to throw a backdoor slider. I said, you did. It was right there. You executed the pitch. You just went down and got it.
Ah, dang it, that could have been 2. He made his pitch there. That was a good pitch.
Really tested out the anti-lock brake system around second base. He's thinking maybe go to third. He did not. 2 on.
And I changed him on the outside part of the plate, and just a nice pitch, and got the ground ball that he needed to just perfectly place it between Zach McKinstry and Fairley over at third. He rolled out there. You're right, Raylan thought about going to third, but that better of it. Jahan was just, I think, almost like daring him to go, ready to come up firing.
Outside.
I don't want to go too far in assuming something on one play, but I have to believe that means they're going to be pretty willing to wait on Jahan because of play the way he aggressively
Just the
works
way
out.
he did. Yeah. I mean, and if he bobbled it at all, didn't come up with it cleanly, that's why I think he did go into second base so hard.
It's interesting looking at the outfield defensive alignment for the Tigers. There's been a lot of talk in Major League Baseball about that.
Because regardless, YT, I was a fucking headache for a company that I like a lot. I mean,
And Parker, too, out in center. I mean, the nice thing is that he can catch the little bloopers. And slam on the brakes behind Jay and he's just there.
all right, come on, make your pitch.
Come on, but if that ball is bobbing or not, or maybe he's just hoping that he sees him and takes his eye off and bobbles it.
He went. Yeah. Yeah, come on. Same pitch.
first time after running the count to 3-0.
Ah, that was down, but I thought he might give it to him.
Salmon's too on that Justin Turner strikeout. Got that check swing with that high fastball and went right back up there. Got the swing right through it. So if you're not ready for that the first time, how are you going to be ready for it the second time? And he wasn't.
We got a battery.
Yeah, he's called that strike all night.
Have not had one time in the big league, so to have that awareness to read that swing is a win.
It is, you know, and that's the other thing about this that AJ knows that they worked a lot down in AAA, so they do have a nice feel for one another.
That's out.
Foul 1-2. Dylan Dingler, week plus into his major league career. Salmons as well, a left-hander finally getting an extended shot at the major league level.
Favorite M&M type? Probably peanut M&Ms. Yeah, come on. Yeah, that's a like low to mid 90s heater, but it's got some run on it. Running, running, and running, running, and running, running, and running, running.
Corporations who check up prices to lower everyday costs for working families. They're spending millions on ads attacking her because she'll be a president who fights for you.
Yeah, I mean, we've reached a point, and I'm not. This isn't meant to be a criticism of minor league pitching development, but I'm completely ignoring what the minor league numbers are for these guys. And for one, I think that we're taking a lot of starters and moving them to the bullpen, so I think that automatically kind of changes things to a certain extent. But you see it kind of with the Mariners, like with what they're doing, where I brought it up earlier. A lot of these guys have similar stuff: live arms, good sweepers, good sliders. And they're all strike throwers. I mean, they're all consistent strike throwers. What you have there is a rotation full of guys who have completely bought into the philosophy, what they're being taught, and it's working. I think that every pitcher who succeeds here succeeds in large part because they listen to what Chris Fetter and Robin Lund are telling them to do. The guys who fail are the guys who don't. I really think the guy that I always go back to, and I feel like I pick on this guy constantly, but I think that Gregory Soto, they believed, had the potential to be an elite reliever. But he was never consistent at finding the zone. And as we've seen with Tarek and as we saw with Flaherty and Lorenzen, the way these guys' stuff opened up when they were just consistently pumping strikes, it changes you as a pitcher. Flaherty last year had a strike to walk ratio of like 1 something, and this year was 8. That's how consistent he was. If you fall to the wayside and don't do what you're told here, or are just unable to execute, you're not gonna succeed. This guy can hit a little bit, man.
Smallest country you can find on our globe. And Dan, he was very proud to learn after yours truly during the century told him that Palau was 12 down in the Tuesday New York Times crossword puzzle.
I bet he was proud. I didn't know where it was. You told me where it was.
That was a strike, but he missed his location. That was up. That's what you call a good miss, because that's a hard pitch to hit, but it wasn't where he wanted it. Get down. That boy. A lot of room there on the right side when you're facing a righty. See, Parker. If Parker wasn't swinging the bat so well, I'd almost call this a bunt situation, but I don't want to take the bat out of his hand. Now, he's so fast, he could probably bunt for a base hit, but
was like right at where the second baseman would be playing. The other one was by Madris, was a ground ball right where the shortstop would be playing. So really good hitting by the Tigers to get him going here.
Yeah, no, I think I think his eye for those like scrap heap pieces and just his eye for talent in general is good. And like he'll be able to find some, he can't go around though. He will be able to find certain pieces.
That was the greatest play I've ever seen live. Parker said, thank you. He's not the only one who felt like that. First base side. Fair ball.
Man, he's locked, dude.
No longer a scoreless game. Parker Meadows continues to affect this series. It's an RBI double, and it's
Yeah.
1-0 Tigers.
And another changeup, but the bunt may have just fooled Rue a little bit, thinking that, you know what, I'm going to give him just a little cookie in there because he's bunting, and he takes it off, and he does get that good pitch, and hits it right down the right field line to drive at the Tigers' first round. It's just that bunt, that faking up the bunt, just showing bunt, and it changes the way a pitcher.
He is a different player right now than we saw in the first few months of the season. Right now, he's looking like the player that we saw in spring training.
We saw two fastballs his first time out. Gets another fastball. First strike one with the infield in another game that you expect to be low scoring. So you play the infield in.
Yeah.
We need some gaps. 1-2.
They just
Tack on here, man.
offense is going, and in a bullpen game where all the matchups are starting to get deeper and deeper, they can't afford to give up too many.
1-2 to Dingler. He has only seen fastballs. 5 pitches in 2 at bats, all fastballs.
Yeah, that 94 it's got life on it though. I mean, it's got some rising action. And he's like 20 at bats into his career too here. That was a good pitch. He dotted that one.
6 strikeouts for Woo.
Woo!
You just see that four-seam fastball again. Watch it at the top of the zone. How it just seems to just keep
He's fucking locked, dude.
rising. You see it really
Parker. That's a very good sign.
it's just
See, this is where we struggle to add on because you got, I mean, Dingler, McKinstry, Blade. Just put a fucking ball in play. We'll score a run. September at the latest. Yeah, I think it would be dumb to not give him another shot this year.
He is one of the top guys to use the 4-seamer and the 2-seamer combined. So the fastball category includes the cutter. If you take that out, he is 6th in baseball in highest percentage of 4-seamer and 2-seamer. And the Dingler now shows
and it works. You can see why it works.
That's another good pitch.
longing for contact.
And throwing just enough sliders, just enough changeups, just to keep you off of that, off of those 2 fastballs.
1-2. Woo is well ahead here. So how does he try to get this guy?
Just thinking right along with you. I said, now what's he going to do? You know, just continue to go with that high fastball. Because Zach McKinstry right there was laid on it after the first pitch slider, laid on that 4-seam.
0-2.
Oh, beats that time. Wind change.
Boy, that's a pretty good pitch. And maybe that's why he plays that off of that 4-seam fastball. I mean, it comes out of his hand looking like it's at that same eye level as that 4-seam fastball, and then just the parachute comes out and then just drops into the strike zone.
I've got a battle now.
0-2.
Good take. Just a little bit higher than he wanted it.
Different in miles an hour.
Oh, no, that's what I mean. It's almost like doing Zach McKinstry a favor, you know, where he's a little bit behind that 95-mile-an-hour fastball that slows it up to 90. That might be one that he can punch to the left side.
1-2 is well inside. He aimed a fastball that time.
He was trying to get a little bit extra on that one. They just held on to it too long.
He did. He ran it up to 95 and a half. But it just wouldn't do. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
That's a shot. Split the gap. That's 2. That is one of his best at-bats of the entire season. Wu was trying to strike him out. He gets down 0-2. He takes 2 fastballs. I have to go back. I think that was another fastball. And that thing was a seed. Oh, did he go off speed? Yeah, he hung a breaking ball. Yeah, what's weird about McKinstry's numbers are awful. I'm not going to make the Don Kelly comparison because I don't want people to bite my head off. But, like, when he hits, he gets big hits. Like, in high leverage situations. That was a huge at-bat. That's huge.
So interesting, the calculus of the battery. You know, the catcher and pitcher are watching these swings. They're not getting the out with the fastball, but he hasn't hurt them either with it. And it's a misplaced slider.
It is. It's just, oh, well, he's got to be looking for that fastball. That's what frustrates you so much after you do make a change the pitch and it gets hit.
No.
Only the Angels this year have gotten Wu for more than 3 earned runs in a start. He gave up 4 earned runs at the Big A just before the All-Star break.
Wow, that's a hanger.
That sweeper 1-2.
But some of these approaches, too, have been really good this inning. I mean, Wu's just rolling it down for the first most of this game, and then all of a sudden the approaches change.
Did he have a perfect game through 4? I think he did.
Well-placed ground balls.
That's all.
Then the big blow, Parker's double, but then followed up with Zach McKinstry's double. Just foul those 4 seams off until you get to a pitch.
And like the late there, that was too far above his own to even garner a swing. 2-2. Yeah, low piece. All it takes. Try to force him into another pitch.
That's it. Just keep fouling that off and taking it, just so you just say, okay. We talk about the split finger. If it's low, let it go. It's almost like, just if it's up in that strike zone and it's above your hands, just let that one go.
No. You see, that's where he wanted the pitch, the first 0-2 to McKinstry. Because that's that's above the zone, but that's a really enticing pitch to a lot of hitters.
Yeah, this one just at the top of that strike zone. You see how it just kind of takes off, doesn't it? It's just that arm angle. He starts up on top, and then as he delivers it to home, it kind of lowers and it has that little bit of a vertical angle approach.
It's in there.
Here's a weird one from the desk of Austin Drake in our graphics department. Who has 9 strikeouts, 7 strikeouts, and 9 swings and misses?
Huh.
That's weird.
Yeah.
0-1. Foul side, nothing in 2. You'd love to get that 4th run across.
Yeah, it's been kind of tough until his first 2 at-bats.
We're going to have to keep streaming until we fucking lose one of these games. I mean, I
To start the 5th inning. Parker's excited. Zach? Well, nobody's going to pat you on the back because you're alone at second. Do it yourself.
Over the last 50 years, Michigan has come to know us. Everyone knows about our no-fee guarantee. Everyone knows the Bernstein Advantage. Everyone knows it's always a free consultation. And that's why everyone knows 1-800-CALL-SAM is the best call you'll ever make after an accident. Chevy lets you begin every day fully charged. So you can go farther. And so can your money. Tow with confidence. Plus, stay connected with OnStar technology. For summer adventures, Chevy's got you. Or GM employees with a current eligible lease can get this Silverado for around $319 a month. Chevy drives the newer city. Visit ChevyDetroit.com. Mark your calendars this summer because FanDuel has something for everyone every day. Like Rocket Boost, so you can score bigger winnings at any inning. Plus, new customers can bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Listen to these results: $100 million, $3 million, $2.7 million, $5.9 million, $2.2 million. That's the Bernstein advantage. 1-800-Awesome.
That's some good news to report here. Menard's big money encounter. Casey Mize beginning a rehab start tonight with the 20.
Yeah, it feels like Mize has been out for a really long time. I did not expect him to be out for so long. That's a strike.
He's initiated a return to play throwing progression as well. So help is on the way. We've seen this abundance of bullpen games. Trying to beg, borrow, and steal. Everything he can do right now. JJ Hinch and the boys. But Casey Mize.
Kinster's been busy. That's one.
Today, just kidding. One quick note about Toledo and then about our friend KG who goes along with us and is really the brains behind the operation when we shoot an open like that. Toledo is on pace for its highest OPS in a single season since at least 2005.
Wow.
So some good signs, and we've seen some of it come up here to the Tigers major league team the last couple of weeks. But Kevin Kurlewski, who was never on camera because he's holding the camera, is the guy who sets up all of these opens that we do on the subway system, on the boat here, on the Texas Giants in Arlington. Johnny, we don't talk about him nearly enough.
No, he's kind of like Lydia, that guy. He doesn't like to be heard or seen. You know what I mean?
Tell him.
But without KG, we would be nothing.
No, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, that was down. He called it a strike.
Best of luck with that, bro. And as far as everybody knows, we do everything that you guys see in one take. And Kevin Swanson.
That's exactly right. Jeff Rojas, by the way, is not terribly pleased with his strike.
Yeah, the ball. He got away with one.
It's funny we couldn't show Kevin because he's nowhere to be found. He would never want to be on camera. 2-1 is outside 3-1.
Just to get back to Casey Mize, too, good for him because, he's chopping at the bit. He's been hurt for so long and just wants to get back in action. So he's got to take that progression just like he's ramping up in spring training. So off to a good first start. He just has a couple more to get going before he can come off that 60-day.
High fly ball, really high fly ball into right field.
Got it.
It's
It's a big par.
There it is.
Oh, my gosh.
There's us doing it.
But I don't know. I feel like the broadcast team this year has there's been way more bells and whistles. And I don't know if I'm correct with that take or if the bells and whistles themselves are just more memorable. I feel like last year, Shep, Petrie, and Johnny Kane eating crickets together would have come across as kind of douchey. Whereas watching it here, I don't know. It's hard to explain. But the thing with local TV crews, especially with baseball, because you got 162 of these, it's like comfort food. It's like a game show host. You want to become familiarized with these guys. It is important to have good chemistry and likable personalities. It sounds corny, but it's to feel at home with them.
So you guys paid me $4.90.
Yeah, I was part of the group too because, I could have been $4.90 as well, but we're not doing that. We're taking full price for yours truly.
Oh, that was a bargain. Worth every penny. I had so much fun with you guys today. That's all.
Petrie has by far been the best. But yeah, I was skeptical for a while. I'm not really sure why, but you're correct. I think when you look at and Benetti, I think one of his great strengths as a broadcaster is that he's kind of capable of having a good rapport with anyone, as that should end the inning here. Blade's got it. It's another guy's been busy. Is that I think he's able to have a pretty good rapport with anybody. But when you go back to his time in Chicago, it was him and Steve Stone. Steve Stone, legendary figure in Chicago sports, but more of a good analyst, but a little bit more dry with his humor, with his analysis. I think he fits well being the older guy, countered with this very enthusiastic younger broadcaster. I think Petrie works in the exact same way. You get the impression they legitimately like each other, which, I got that impression from Mario and Rod too, so you never know. Yeah, no, I'm with you, Diller. It does, chemistry's there, to put it simply. Let's see who's due up. Keith. Diabetes. It's pre-diabetes. The few interactions that I had with him, he was very nice. I never met him in person. But he was cool because he was always supportive of people on Twitter and everything. He supported my stuff. I think he still follows me. So yeah, shout out TJ's dad. To a Trump. My Trump isn't even that good. Like it's a weird impression because it's like almost okay. Like I have the general mannerisms down and just the way he says certain things. Like he says people is people. Wonderful, wonderful people. They come over here. Keith he's not slumping necessarily, but he has not been as hot as he was over the last few weeks or months. Yeah, good pull. Run it out. Yeah. Not a good pitch to swing at there. It was inside. Yeah, no, he's been dynamic. He probably gets lost because he's the youngest of that core of starters that they have, but he's got legit stuff. He's been good tonight. He had a bad inning. Things, got out of hand last inning, but he's about to finish off 6, pretty quick innings. Okay, guys, I know I tweeted about it as just because I knew it would get a response. I'm telling you, I don't think Brad Ausmus managing the White Sox is out of the realm of possibility. Look, believe it or not, I don't even he didn't do a good job here, and he wasn't good in Los Angeles either. But he's still, and I'm not in those clubhouses, he's still very highly regarded amongst a lot of players and a lot of front offices. He has great relationships with people. And the last time he managed was, I think, 2019. I bet if he wants, he'll get another opportunity. Now the problem is, I can't think of a less appealing job. I remember when we fired Osmus and we were kind of entering our rebuild thinking this is not a very appealing job. And we ended up getting Gardenhire, who I think was probably the only guy who would have taken the job at that point. The White Sox job right now, I think, is less appealing. Ownership is a mess. New president, you don't know how good he is. You know, you don't have a great farm system. I mean, it's going to be a long time before they're good. Thoughts on Morosi saying Chris Fetter's leading candidate for the White Sox? I would be curious to know where he's getting that information from. For one, and there are exceptions like Bud Black, a lot of pitching coaches and hitting coaches rarely become managers. It's usually bench coaches or first or third base coaches that do. There's exceptions, obviously, but I get zero impression that Chris Fetter has a whole lot of interest in being a manager. I think he likes the role that he has now. And again, even it's almost like a Ben Johnson situation in Detroit where it's like, let's say for the sake of argument that Chris Fetter does want to be a manager one day. I think he would be much better suited waiting until a better opportunity opens up, because for the time being, I think his job is insanely stable right now. Insanely stable. Like my prediction is he will be allowed to be the pitching coach here as long as he wants. And I think AJ will allow him to be the pitching coach here as long as he wants. Even if he wants to be a manager, which I don't think he does, it's a massive jump going from a very stable job in Michigan where he's lived for a long time. He has a family, he has kids, or he has a kid. And going to the South Side of Chicago where you're going to be with a team that's had, I mean, Rick Renteria was their manager in 20, so this is going to be their fourth manager in about 5 seasons. Have they hit a ball, knock on wood, but have they hit a ball hard all night? I mean, so many ground outs and pop-ups. I think Anthony Acumia would still be is that a real word? Virulent racist if Patrice O'Neal was alive. The thing about, I don't follow a ton of Compound Media and the stuff Anthony did. So I could never, and having listened to a ton of Opie and Anthony, I still couldn't tell how much of what he was saying was fodder for the radio and how much he was saying was what he actually believed. Is that the hard hit ball I was talking about? Fuck. God damn it. But I don't know. It's very weird to me how it seems like I think Anthony, between the two of them, is widely acknowledged universally to be the more talented of the two. And yet, bizarrely, I don't feel like Opie worked well without Anthony, and I don't feel like Anthony has been that successful without Opie. I think he could have been, but his insistence on really planting a stake in the, like, I'm going to be a right-wing, conservative, funny guy, I just don't think that was a great idea. I think he's funnier than that. I think he's kind of been called out for that. I remember Ron Bennington was on a show one time being like, dude, you were the funniest out of all of them. So I don't know. I mean, What's weird about that, and I know we're talking Opie and Anthony here. It's 1 out in the sixth. Rosarena's down 0-2. But what's weird is like Patrice was not the third mic. He wasn't on the show, and he wasn't on the show every day. I don't even know if he was on every week, really. But you got the impression he was the one guy. Him and Colin Quinn were the two guys that were the most unafraid to call those guys on the bullshit. Colin usually did it with Norton, and Patrice usually did it with Opie and Anthony. But I would love it, and I don't think it'll happen now because they're getting kind of fucking old now at this point. It will never happen, but I would just love to see like 1 week of radio with the three of them back together just to see if they could recapture that chemistry at all. I don't know if they could at this point because there's been so many mean things that they've said to each other, and Jim's moved on doing his show with Sam and everything. But like to me, and Rogan's talked about it, the Opie and Anthony show at its peak when you had all these great comedians coming in, and you had Anthony, who was and Norton, who were two of the funniest people ever. Opie kind of steering the ship, letting things, going with the flow. And that's a great pitch. And even the people behind the scenes, I mean, the way that they utilized, even if it was just to make fun of them, but the way that they utilized E-Rock and I liked Than when he was there. And even though everyone hated him, like I thought Danny was good on the radio. Torque, yes. Job, no. Who's my favorite intern / producer / site? Okay. Intern. It's such an obvious answer, but it is intern David. Like, and it's not as much intern David as it was the way that they used intern David. And the fact that, give it to him. What I found interesting about David was the fact that he was, and I think people would say this about me too, he was a guy who was unbelievably passionate about broadcasting and wanted to be a broadcaster, but was severely lacking in talent. The guy just didn't have it. He had no charisma as a performer, and they used that to their advantage. Favorite producer, I liked Than. And I mean, Sam, obviously, but Sam kind of transcended the producer role. I actually liked Danny just for how combative he was. Like, it made for good radio. And he did some funny bits. All those guys did, like him and Travis did. And then side character, I mean, Bobo bits to me, I think are just some of the funniest shit. Scorch. I'm going to get another drink, but I'll be right back. Stay tuned.
This is the GMC Sierra, powered by the TurboMax engine. So you have the confidence of 430 pound-feet of best-in-class standard torque. GMC Sierra is the truck. GM employee program participants with a current eligible GMC lease can get this loan on this 2024 GMC Sierra Elevation for $29 per month. Arby's is full of choices. You can get your favorite stuff 3 for $5. Incredible value. Reach it and eat whatever you grab. Arby's, we have the meats.
Join the Tigers with smiles on your faces August 17th for Kids Club Day presented by Blue Cross Blue
All right, back. Sorry.
Kids Club members can enjoy comprehensive limited space cleaning and more. Join Kids Club
Jahan about to go deep, obviously. I mean, for a team that has 2 starters right now, our bullpen's in remarkable shape. I don't know if they're going to try to get one more out of Salmons. I bet they do. Do you use Holton for 6 tonight? Number 1 ballpark on my list to visit. You didn't, Homer. The park that I think on television, and they're a West Coast team, so I'm not going to act like I watched a ton of their games, but when they were in the postseason, I watched a lot. That I think, like when I think 21st century ballpark, it's the first one that comes to mind is Oracle Park in San Francisco. I remember even like when I first started watching baseball, and obviously Barry Bonds was the biggest name at the time. Dude, this fucking guy, Parker Meadows. But it's just the features there with the giant Coke bottle, the giant glove, McCovey Cove. It's just very recognizable. I drink a lot of pop. I drank a lot of pop when I was drinking. I would say it's probably fair to say I've replaced my new addiction is I love pop. I love Coke Zero. I go to the store, I buy 1 Coke Zero and 1 alternate soda, and I trade off, and that's how I spend my money. Was that today? I don't. I'll be honest. The only info or consumption of the Kirk Minahan show I have at this point is just the clips I see on YouTube and on Twitter. So I didn't. No, I didn't see any of that. The only reason I know who he is because he was on the day that Kirk and Clemmer like shit on me after the Francis block. That's outside. I mean, I mix it up. There's Orange Crush, there's Ginger Ale Verner's, Sprite Zero, a lot of 0 calorie sodas. Outside. Super Bowl prediction, ask me in a few weeks. I got to look at. I mean, the NFC is incredibly wide open. I think there's a bunch of good teams in the NFC. I don't know if there's a great team in the NFC. I think even the Niners have their flaws. But I think there's a lot of parity there. Like there's a lot of teams that I could see having good years. In the AFC at this point, I mean, we've reached that point. We probably should have already reached it, but last year proved it. We've reached that point that the Patriots were at for, close to 20 years with Brady and Belichick, where it's like, even if they don't win, even if the Chiefs don't win the AFC, in order to win the AFC, you're going to have to go through Kansas City in some capacity, whether that's playing them at home or playing them on the road. So, I mean, it's hard for me to pick anybody else but them coming out of that conference. I also think that
what's scary, man, is the last year was KC's down year. I mean, they were until the last few weeks of the season, even going into the postseason, there were question marks. We knew the defense was drastically improved from the last few years, but they just won the Super Bowl with the like shittiest crop of receivers ever. And to me, and I know a lot of people pointed this out right away, and I think those people are correct. My favorite pick of the draft, Xavier Worthy going to the Chiefs. I think what him and Mahomes are going to be able to do together that's going to be magic. The fact that like it's a weird thing because other teams got to fill their needs, but it's like the fact that the rest of the league let him fall to Kansas City, like this ain't going to end well. I don't know, man. I mean, I think he's always going to be really good. Yeah, I know. No, I know. I mean, I get the criticism, but I'll believe it when I see it. Who's the most overrated young QB in the NFL? That answer is very easy for me. Trevor Lawrence. I think what I look for in quarterbacks, and this is obviously such a simple analysis, but I'll never claim to be an expert, is upward trajectory. Are you improving from year to year? I think that very often when it comes to how we grade guys coming out of high school and how we grade guys coming out of college is we assume that they're going to take steps forward, even though they maybe haven't taken steps forward. When I watched Trevor Lawrence's freshman year at Clemson, I remember saying this guy is going to be an absolute freak, right? And while he was exceptional all 3 years he was there, he never got better to me than he was in the national championship game against Alabama that one year. And do I think he's a good quarterback? Yes. Do I think he's a Super Bowl franchise quarterback? No. I think that people really put the cart before the horse because he won a playoff game when the Chargers did what the fucking Chargers do, which is blow leads. So I don't think he's a Super Bowl quarterback. In terms of other people, I mean, I don't think you can call Daniel Jones overrated because everyone knows he stinks. Bryce Young is to be determined. I can't. I mean, CJ Stroud was a revelation last year. I think to say anything other than he has MVP potential is silly, considering the weapons they have now. And it seems like they have a good culture there in Houston. Lamar, I feel like, is a choice that a lot of people jump to. That's strike three. In the sense that I think Lamar Jackson is a weird case. He's like the James Harden of the NFL for me, where, he's great. Like, I know he's great. At the same time, are we sure he's good? Because, like, when he struggles like he did in the AFC Championship game last year, there's moments with Lamar Jackson where like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? And yet you look at the numbers at the end of the year and the numbers are great. He's a dynamic quarterback. But I also think, I looked at the NFL 100 list. Anyone putting Lamar ahead of Patrick Mahomes, what are we doing? Kelsey walks to Laporta could run. Honestly, I think very soon Laporta will be the best tight end in the NFL, assuming he continues to develop. I think that he has. I mean, Amon-Ra is their best receiver, but he, to me, the season, how I felt about the team as a whole kind of changed when I saw what him and Gibbs were capable of doing last year, especially Laporta, though. I mean, the tight end position over the last 2 decades has been revolutionized completely where, you need to be a great blocker. You need to be able to protect the quarterback, but it's essentially just another receiver position now. If you utilize it correctly. Like when I think of playmakers on offense, like I think of Kittle and I think of Kelsey, and obviously Gronk was a huge part of it, but it probably started with Antonio Gates really in the early 2000s. Or I'm sorry, Antonio Gonzalez. Gates was with the Chargers. Who's winning the Big Ten this year? I am going to say Oregon. And I know a lot of people may say that that's biased because I just don't want to see Ohio State win it. But here's the issue that certain programs run into when they fail to beat their rival. Now, I would say Harbaugh probably could have used a bit more panic, to be honest, during his time at Michigan. But I think one of the issues that some programs run into is that they lose the one game that really matters, and they feel a need to have some huge shakeup. Ohio State last year, and I know, look, Michigan had their disadvantages. They were without a coach, right? Ohio State last season, against probably the most dominant defense in that college football scene in a long time, was about 30 yards away from not just beating Michigan, but probably winning the national championship, right? Maybe they lose to Bama, who knows, but at least going to the playoff and being 13-0 when they go to the Rose Bowl. And they responded they return a lot of really good players, but they responded by spending a ton of money, shaking up a ton of things, getting rid of a quarterback that I thought was totally adequate. I saw nothing awful about Kyle McCord. And in turn, I feel like what they just kind of did was just went around the block just to get next door, which means they're still going to be exceptionally talented. And I do think last year's, it's not a consolation prize, but I do think last year's Ohio State team was more equipped to beat Michigan than some of the previous teams because they were much tougher on the lines. But I don't know. I think Oregon's style of play and their coach are very well suited for the Big Ten, unlike some other teams. I remember when I worked at Barstool, I wrote a blog about this with USC. We joke, and they deserve the criticism. We joke about teams like Iowa and Minnesota and Wisconsin and how archaic, especially Iowa's offenses are, right? But there is truth to the fact that there's a level of physicality that you bring to the Big Ten that a lot of these finesse programs out west just don't have. The only team coming over from the Pac-12 that I think will translate in that department is Oregon. I think USC will struggle. I mean, their defenses got lit up last year. UCLA is still a ways away. That's fair ball. Oh, Jesus Christ. But I think Oregon's will translate. They got Gabriel on transfer. He's going to be a good quarterback. Does Dylan Dingler project as a frontline starting catcher at the major league level? TBD. I think he has the intangibles, but I feel that way about Jake too. It's just that a lot of these catchers, they get to the big leagues and they just don't develop a consistent enough bat. Thoughts on JJ with... It's a good point, Caleb. Oregon also spends unlimited money, yes. Thoughts on JJ with the Vikings? Look, it's one of those situations where I'm going to be noticeably biased when it comes to my assessment of him. JJ McCarthy is the best quarterback in Michigan history. And JJ, having watched Michigan basically every snap that he played at Michigan, he was in a run-first offense that last season, especially, I mean, really, for the first 10 games of the season, JJ played about 2.5 quarters a game. Like, his numbers were probably not as impressive as they could have been just because we shit-pumped so many teams. I'm not betting against JJ McCarthy because there's what Michigan was one kind of program before he got there, and they became a much different program after he got there and since he's left. And I think that he's a huge part of that. I also think Sometimes there's an advantage of not being a top 5 pick as a quarterback because, well, he went, 11th, JJ, something like that. He's got weapons there. Now, he'll sit probably for a year, but I think any quarterback that is going into a situation in which they can throw the ball to Justin Jefferson means they're going into a pretty good situation. He has a built-in fail-safe that is the best receiver in football. So I'm always going to believe in JJ. I'm going to think that JJ's the one thing I will say, and this is unbiased, is he's the only Michigan quarterback that we've had really outside of Brady. But since I've been watching Michigan football, where I see him actually developing into a legitimate NFL quarterback. Does he do it? I don't know. But like, I never saw it. Henny was a career backup. He was totally immobile. Denard didn't have the accuracy of the arm. I mean, really, Shea Patterson was never going to make it. Rudock at best was going to be a backup. He had one good year, one good half season. Ryan, we don't claim Ryan Mallett. Ryan Mallett was Arkansas. I know he went here for a year. But JJ is the one where I'm like, okay, I could see this sticking. I could see it landing. Turn it. Think Holton gets it. How many? What's the Tigers' record for consecutive scoreless innings? Because he is a different kind of fucking locked in right now, man. Because he's at what? He's at 22 2/3 scoreless consecutive. They might, Sean. They might. I mean, Foley is probably... Wait, did we use Foley in both games this series? I think we did. So he's probably not available. I don't want to use Brisky. You're not going to use Shelby. You better fucking not use Shelby or Wentz. You could use Faedo. Wasn't I a little suspect? I mean, I say a lot of shit, Kevin. I don't think that I was. Did I feel like his ERA was probably... Did I feel like he probably had some good luck? Yes. But I remember the one thing that stood out last year when I looked at his baseball reference page was the fact that, like, yeah, there's not a ton of swing and miss there, but he didn't get hit hard at all. He was in like the 90th something percentile in hard hit rate. Which means that, yeah, I obviously, ideally with relievers, you want guys that are going to miss bats, but like a guy who's not giving up hard contact is every bit as valuable. Who's the planned start for? Probably Faedo now? I don't know. I think more so, Kevin, I continue to have skepticism about almost everyone in this pen because I just think the pen is severely lacking a big-time hard-throwing swing and miss guy. And I feel like my theory is that on a long enough timeline, all bullpens are bad. I know that sounds strange, but like if you play out a season or multiple seasons, eventually all relievers kind of spoil because a lot of them are failed starters, and the more sample size that you get of them, the more they have a tendency to fall apart. There's exceptions. The fucking 2015 Astros. I would say the or 2015 Royals. I would say the Astros 2 years ago. That's the best bullpen I've ever seen. When they had if their starter went 6, it was done because they had fucking Montero, Abreu, and Presley just locking it down. Their bullpen had like a 0.56 ERA that entire postseason. It was something insane like that. They gave like 2 runs the entire postseason. Run it out. No. I don't know. I guess they haven't really stood out to me. It's always nice seeing pause in commercials. I feel like as a whole, we underutilize pause.
Now, I'm also. This is I say this affectionately towards myself, which is rare. This is an autism special interest that I probably haven't tapped into enough. I really love mascots. I'm a big fan of mascots. Okay. One of the first blogs I ever wrote on Barstool was the civil union that I have with Mustard, the hot dog mascot in Cleveland. And Paws is a great mascot. His name makes sense. He isn't creepy. Fun name. You know, I don't like abstract mascots. Stanford Cardinals mascot is a tree. Fuck that. Alabama's mascot is an elephant. No, that's nothing for me. Purdue Pete, it's ironic that he's a mascot for a school, considering Purdue Pete looks like he's probably not allowed within 200 yards of one. That was good. That was a good one. Like, real talk, if we're talking college sports, I'm trying to think of one that's better than Sparty. Brutus is good. Yes. Uga is a good one. Yeah, I mean a lot of Tiger mascots are good. Yeah, no, if we're talking all sports, I was just talking college. If we're talking all sports, I'd say the Philly Fanatic. The big problem with the Philly Fanatic is and maybe this is just my perverted mind, there's an oddly sexual component to that mouth. But who's the one for the Padres? The Friar. That's a good mascot. Orbit for the Astros is a good mascot. You know what was one that made... I'm not saying it's a good mascot, but the Bobcat mascot for the Diamondbacks, Baxter, just because he looks like Gary the trash cougar from Family Guy. He's just a rather threatening looking creature. I don't know how I got onto this fucking topic, but what's the one that the Vikings have? Ragnar? That's a great mascot. Ragnar Fox. Yeah. Hooper from the Pistons. It's Hooper's birthday. We got Holton back out there.
So what's your system? What's that? Your system. What's your system? Everybody has a system. FanDuel's responsible gaming tool is a key part of yours. Catch Travelers live on Bally Sports at the Bally Sports Live.
Timeout for Chevrolet's strongest player, pitching by committee, but not too many cooks in the kitchen tonight. It's been an outstanding effort to get here.
It has been for the Mariners.
Yeah, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves here, but we got 6 more outs to go. But if we lose, I'm blaming you. See, I got Garver up, more on deck, and then it's back to the top of the order. So this is probably, I mean, yeah, they could try to get Holton to finish this. I mean, Oh yeah, okay, I forgot. We use Vest more than anybody, yet I always forget about him. I bet they get Holton through 8th or through the 8th, and then we try to get Vesty to pitch tonight. Make a play. That's over his head. Not a bad pitch, but just a little floater.
Southeast Michigan Ford dealers. Johnny Kane, Dan Petrie, Jason Benetti along with you. Mariners have a runner on. Dylan Moore is the batter. We should mention that there's been some changes to the Mariners bench today from earlier in the series. Dominic Calzone activated on the injured list today. So
Dominic Calzone.
Left-hander on the bench. And then Ryan Bliss.
My name is Ryan Bliss. This is my daughter, Jenny Bliss. Turn it. Turn it. Fuck yeah. No, I haven't. I do kind of want to see it. And I kind of want to see it in theaters. I should. Jason. I mean, he was cooked when we got him. Jason. Wow, man. That seemed like it could get a little bit hairy there. But Holton, again, just executing his fucking pitches. And he was on the bag, but he was barely on the bag there. For the Rockies? Here's the thing, guys. I find myself, when it comes to just the little cutesy things that I come up with for this team, to be very funny. Most other people don't find them as funny as I do, which is a problem. Like, I find Wenzel's pretzels very funny. I thought the From Carson to Kelly meme that I would post when he would homer was very funny. Yeah, I mean, shit, dog. He's pitching like it. This is just, and Holton's stuff is good. He moves the ball, he locates. But if I was a hitter, I feel like a Tyler Holton type would be my least favorite pitcher to face, because he probably looks to be the most hittable and just totally isn't. Like, if I'm going up there and I'm facing Aroldis Chapman, and I'm swinging and missing at 105, like when he's really firing darts with that, slider that just dives. Like, I can understand it. But you go through, you look at Holton, who's more about deception and location, and nobody hits him hard. It's just weak contact and pop-ups and ground outs. Thanks, man. Yeah, no, it's a weird thing. I think I'm just hiding it better because, like, internally, like right now, I'm freaking out. Internally, this is a insanely, like, scary, nerve-wracking part of my life. But I don't know. I feel like on a day-to-day basis, like, and I regret it, dude. I really regret it. But I was just very, very. I should have been stronger than I was. And appreciated what I had. Because instead of doing the glass half full, which is, hey man, you're lucky, you work for Barstool, you got a great opportunity. It just had a real devastating impact on me, not being able to be around the people, because there was a lot of people that I liked. And I should have been better because they gave me a lot of opportunities. But yeah. I don't think Baez will be the shortstop next year. Third base, I mean, I think Young will be ready by next year, you'd think. That's a tough pitch. Okay, that's a bad at bat, but that's a really good pitch sequence. He ate him up with the two-seamer in. He was probably expecting that pitch again. He goes off speed and just paints.
Thinking that one's going to dart back in, and it doesn't. It sweeps back over that inner third part of the plate.
Well, that's a picture that makes you abandon the pitch as it's coming toward you.
Right. Yeah. You give up.
Strike one to Parker Meadows, who's got another two-hit night.
It's done.
Parker Meadows has 2 hits in each game of this series, and he won the game for the Tigers last night.
Yeah. His OPS it's up to 657. It was in the 400s when he was called up. That's a good pitch.
Because it has to be in the back of your mind, man. What happens if I fail again? What happens if I don't do it? Then what's going to happen? But he's dismissed all of that and said, I know I'm a good player. I know I can be successful, and he sure has shown it.
Any content I'm hoping to make? I mean, I want to do Lion stuff. I want to do more Lion stuff. I mean, what's weird, guys, is I want to play to my strengths, but I often feel like I kind of pigeonhole myself, because if you guys have been watching this stream, like, I'm very well versed in when it comes to talking about football, talking about NFL or college. I think that I'm not as good as I am with baseball. But like I could do that, It's I'm known for being the Tigers guy, which is great. I mean, I'm lucky that, like, that's part of me, but that's one thing that always frustrated me. Is that at One North? Yeah, I might do that at some point. Yeah. I never felt like I gave myself, because you make opportunities at a job like Barstool. I never felt like I made the opportunities to really get in the mud and talk sports as much as I should have. Because I'm good at it. I know I'm fucking good at it. All right, let's close this shit out. Let's go. What do you got? They got 2, 3, 4 due up. Don't fuck around. Throw strikes. One thing, and I mean this honestly as a compliment. One thing that I think will appeal to Michigan State fans about Jonathan Smith is how boring he is. And again, I mean that complimentary in the sense that I think his number one goal 100% of the time is football, developing players and trying to win games. And I rooted for a team that employed Jim Harbaugh for 9 years. That circus and that weirdness was awesome 1/3 of the time when they were winning Big Ten championships and making the playoff and winning the Natty. There's a whole lot of headaches that that come with it. So I think that there will be plenty of distractions avoided under Jonathan Smith. Now Holton's back on there. He probably wants him lefty on lefty, and then he might pull him after this at bat. Yeah, I bet he goes lefty and goes to the best. Oh my God. Made his pitch.
Just unfortunately starting to spin, but just catches the bag for a base hit. And Will Best will become on to hopefully close this out for the Tigers.
Over the last 50 years, Michigan has come to Memphis. Everyone knows about a no fee guarantee. Everyone knows the Bernstein advantage. Everyone knows
Vest has been good lately. Vest will shut this down.
Everyone knows 1-800-CALL SAM is the best call you'll ever make after an accident.
When you choose everything becomes brighter. Crafted with Valencia orange peel and coriander, Blue Moon is made brighter.
Yeah.
Instant games from Michigan. Fun to play anytime, any place, any pace. With dozens of games to choose from and millions of emotional prizes. It's instant fun forever. Play $315 total. Top prizes of $6 million and 22nd chance prizes of $100,000.
Oh, we've gotten 2 double plays the last 2 innings. Hopefully, we can get another one here. So he likes to throw that fastball up in the zone. Hopefully, Rosarena can chop one to short, turn a 6-4-3, and breathe a little bit easier. Yeah, I see it. I know. All right. That's setting up. That's foreshadowing. I like it, Panetti. That's down. I feel like I have to now, man. If we're winning, Outside. That's in there. Inside. You got to attack him.
That's that sinker that Rosarena laid off. That's that one that's been breaking his back. He's been rolling over and hitting to the shortstop.
I don't know. Does he have the confidence to go off speed here on 3-2? That's why you don't want to get behind in counts, man. I mean, 3-2 here. I think you got to challenge him with your best good piece of hitting. I feel like we've seen him do that a few times in this series where he gets that pitch in the off the I mean, that was on the plate, but kind of away from him, and he just takes it the other way. All right. I mean, now you get, I mean, not to say that he was, but now you can't give a shit about Holton's scoreless inning streak. You just got to make sure the run from first doesn't fucking score. You get this guy out. Turner's in his twilight years. He's a righty. That's a double play opportunity. But you got to focus on getting Raleigh out any way you can here. That's in there. Yeah. I mean, I hate to be a broken record, but these are the moments where the lack of swing and miss in this pen, that issue really rears its ugly head. That's a strike. Yeah. That was in there. Check it. That was a heater, right? That was a heater up. I think he might go something off speed down here. Changed eye level with that pitch. I could be totally wrong. Petrie said fastball upstairs again. I think he just went to that. That was a change up, yeah. Yeah, come on. Great pitch. Great fucking pitch. That was filth. What'd I say about the lack of swing and miss, right?
just, I keep thinking that sinker. I like that sinker. It was Justin Turner a little bit, antsy about that pitch on the inside part of the plate.
In there. Great pitch. Come on.
And that slider's a good pitch for him too, for Will West.
Can you get inside? Can you get in on this play enough?
That was a sinker.
That was it. He got, look at the move. Now we've seen him swing through 4-seam fastballs.
So he struck out
Been up and away.
Raleigh with the changeup. I don't know if he likes to throw that changeup more to lefties. Everything he's thrown played down in the zone so far. Come on! One more. Outside. Come on. He's got behind to every fucking guy.
Yeah, in this situation too, that's why that first pitch, I think he knows it's a breaking ball. They're trying to backdoor that.
Good pitch. That was a four-seamer, but that had some tailing action on it, though.
The outside part of the plate. The damage is going to be done on the inside part of the plate. That's where you want to stay away from anything that he can lift. But if he's going to try to roll over on something out, that's what.
That's a good pitch. It seems like he's got a good feel for his off-speed stuff. He's thrown a few good sliders, thrown a few good changeups. I was going to say, Petrie just brought it up. I'd probably go to that changeup. Maybe set him up with the fastball first, but then go changeup down. Yeah, fastball up. I think he goes back to he goes off speed here. Either changeup or slider down in the zone. I mean, you could double up on the heater because he didn't really catch it. He didn't really square that up. But see where he sets up. Looks like he's setting up down. Now he went back to the heater. Yeah. See, this is kind of silly. I don't like doing that on 2-2 because if you throw a ball, then you got to throw a strike. I mean, does he have the confidence to go off speed on a full count here? He did against Arozarena. Yeah, just non-competitive pitch. I don't mind the pitch selection, but that wasn't a good pitch. Oh, fuck. All right, talk him up, Fett.
Another really good trick by Chris Benner and AJ Hinch, just going out there after a stressful at-bat, a long at-bat against Jorge Polanco, just giving him a chance to catch his breath. Made a very stressful inning. Crowd's really alive. Bases loaded, nowhere to put anybody. Probably just making sure they know how to go after him, but also just to calm him down, make sure that he doesn't get tensed up, but stays nice and relaxed.
Because he's thrown 24 pitches, Jesus. Ooh, okay. Ugh. Easy.
That's in there. Yeah.
That's a strike, just nudging the corner ever so nicely.
And that had Gideon on it to a 98.
That's a really good pitch. That was in the zone too. He swung right through it. I might go back to that. I wouldn't throw it in the zone, but I'd go back to that slider, see if you can get him to chase.
Best and Haniger. Sweep on the line. 1-2.
He did.
Pitch to the right side.
And that's what he did. He chased. But that was off the plate. He just spoiled it.
Haniger does a good job just to flick it foul.
1-2 again. Right side. Line drive. It's Bryant. He can't make the play. It's by him. And Seattle.
Wow, dude. No, they'll give him a hit for that. Let me see this play again. You got to make that play. I know he dove, but you got to make that play. Wow.